American commanders also spent a lot of time worrying about what would happen in a conventional war between Soviet forces and NATO troops. That is why a lot of time and a lot of money is spent playing war games designed to train American soldiers to fight such a war. As ABC's Gary Shepard reports, the results aren't always very reassuring.
It is a few minutes after sunrise. A huge force of Soviet tanks is launching a blistering attack against units of the U.S. Army's 9th Infantry Division. The Americans try their best, firing shoulder-launched Dragon missiles and TOW anti-tank missiles mounted on vehicles.
Lima 5-8, this is Lima 40, over.
Even air support is called in to help turn back the Soviet invasion, but to no avail. In less than an hour, the Americans are overwhelmed, and the Soviet tanks rumble through the U.S. defenses, penetrating deeply into American-held territory.
We couldn't stop a lot of them. We got overran a little bit, and they were moving pretty fast. I think we couldn't catch up with them.
Fortunately, this is only a training exercise being fought not in Europe against real Soviet forces, but here at the U.S. Army's National Training Center at Fort Irwin in California's Mohave Desert.
Of course, nobody dies in these elaborate war games. The Russians are really American soldiers purposely using Soviet tactics. The weapons all fire blanks, and instead of bullets, laser beams fly through the air. A tank is destroyed when this light starts flashing, indicating it's been hit. You might call this the world's most expensive game of laser tag. It costs about $6 million for a unit to come here for 2 weeks of training. When it's over, there are often bruised egos on the American side. This battle ended, as most of them usually do here. The make-believe Soviet forces won.
The whole purpose of this is to make it as difficult as we can on them while they're here, so if we ever do have to fight, we can do it with a reasonable amount of success.
But with the INF Treaty eliminating medium-range nuclear missiles in Europe, could the United States and its NATO allies be successful fighting a conventional war against the Soviets?
They're going to do fine. They're going to do exactly what the American people expect them to do.
There is no doubt that we can hand that guy his lunch.
But the NATO commander-in-chief is not so optimistic. He says we'd be unable to stop a Warsaw Pact invasion without resorting to nuclear weapons.
Not right now. Not even remotely conceivable, because the Warsaw Pact is much stronger, and these experts and think tanks who say no are wrong.
Coping with that unfavorable balance of power is why America has its own Red Army, a force of some 1,500 men assigned here for 4 years, experts in the use of Soviet weaponry and Moscow's style of fighting. The Army says these Russians are much better trained, much better fighters than any actual Soviet troops U.S. forces would ever encounter on the battlefield. That's why they're so confident despite the continual losses here.
If you're going to fight someone or play someone in the Super Bowl, you want to scrimmage against the very best team that you can come up with. And that's what we try to replicate here at the National Training Center.
The strategy is to give U.S. ground forces as much experience as possible, so their chances of winning in a real war will be a lot better than they are here in the Mohave Desert. Gary Shepard, ABC News, Fort Irwin, California.